Now, let's continue with the war theme. And of course, we've got absolute hysteria going on at the moment because of Russian nukes in space. We can see who's hiding behind the globe there. This has been all over the mainstream press because of a statement made by the US House Intelligence Committee Chairman Mike Turner. And of course, he gave no details because he said that the information was still classified. So he threw out this claim and then had nothing to back it up. And of course, that left the mainstream media to fill in the gaps, of which there were many. So let's just have a look. The Telegraph: Russia is preparing to launch nuclear weapon into space, US fears. We had Defense One: is Russia putting anti-satellite nuke in space? We had the Mail: how Russia's brazen plan to put nukes in space could cripple America, causing a nationwide blackout, grounding military aircraft fleet, and disabling banking system. It gets even worse. Then we had the Sun: Putin planning to launch Russian nuclear weapons into space in serious threat, warns US intelligence. And we can't leave out the Atlantic Council, of course. Experts react. What to know about Russia's apparent plans for space-based nuclear weapons. So if you want to know what it's all about, even though nobody knows what it's all about because it's apparently still classified and nobody's made any statements about it, if you want to find out what the mainstream media is making up about this stuff, there's plenty of examples right there. But in the meantime, with the expansion of the escalation in the Middle East and Ukraine and various other places, what's the Russian attitude to all this? Well, here's Sergei Lavrov, and he was commenting day before yesterday about the fact that the West is creating instability in region after region. He's saying that the Americans want, so to speak, controlled chaos. However, I actually don't think they know what they're doing. Well, I'm going to say that I think they do know what they're doing, and I think Britain knows what it's doing very, very well because it's all over the documents and the doctrine that they push out. So let's just have a look at RUSI to start off with. This is going back a little while. This is from the Land Warfare Conference a couple of years ago. And they were saying this, that on the other hand, they said, since the UK and other NATO members lack conventional dominance of the US, competing beneath the threshold of armed conflict may be necessary. And this is the game that's being played here, as far as I can see. They're pushing out these regional conflicts in various parts of the world, in the Middle East, in Ukraine, in Africa, using proxies. It doesn't directly involve us, although we are pushing in weapons and so on. We're rapidly running out of weapons to continue to push in, but the aim is to maintain a level of tension, but maintain an all-out, below the threshold of an all-out kinetic war with Russia or China. Not just RUSI talking about this. Here is the former chief of the defense staff saying our new strategic command, which formally stands up next to this, is going back a couple of years, as a successor to Joint Forces Command, is charged with driving the essential integration across a modernized force to achieve multi-domain effect. But here's the key point: it will develop and generate the capabilities we need to operate successfully in this sub-threshold context, or grey zone, as some call it, including space, cyber, special operations, and information operations. And we cannot forget the comments of Mark Carleton-Smith. I think this was 2017. He's the former chief of the general staff. Let's remind ourselves what he said.
Systematically exploiting instead that hybrid space that exists between those two increasingly redundant states of peace and war, artificial and binary characterizations of a strategic context that no longer exists today, but which still drives much of our policy and legal definition and their associated frameworks.
Well, they've modernized their associated legal definition and frameworks more recently with the various military doctrine out of the Ministry of Defense and other places. And let's just remind ourselves about the integrated operating concept, because this is key. This isn't just about conflict abroad. This is also about conflict at home, because the British government, the British military, the British military-industrial complex perceives home as no longer being a secure sanctuary. Away is no longer a regional horizon, but a global one involving space and electromagnetic spectrum. But of course, home is really important because this is where the information war is happening. It's also where the psychological war is happening. the psychological war on people's minds. So when Lavrov is talking about this generated chaos, the target isn't just Russia and China and destabilization there. The target is also destabilization at home. So just keep that in mind. We are actually, as in the general public in the UK, the EU, the United States, are perceived as the enemy, and we need to keep that in mind. And I just want to end this segment. I don't know if you'll have some comments on this, Vanessa, but story coming out. Well, we'll start off with this headline going back to 2022. And this is from December 2022. And the headline is Ukraine's clinical trials, medical clinical trials, still recruiting despite ongoing war. More than half of Ukraine's clinical sites are recruiting patients despite the war with Russia. Well, in the last day or two, then there have been allegations that some of these clinical trials, in fact, have been illegal. And the Russian authorities have chosen to comment on this. So here's Maria Zakharova talking about this situation.
Мы действительно видели эти сообщения, информация шокирует, и она сейчас проверяется. Я не хочу, прежде чем мы получим четкую информацию от экспертов, даже на этот счет рассуждать, чтобы потом не сказали, что мы спекулируем на непроверенной информации. При этом же мы неоднократно рассказывали об американских биолабораториях по всему миру и, в принципе, говорили о том, что всю территорию Украины используют для западных экспериментов. Это и медикаменты, это и биологические препараты, и, собственно говоря, вооружения, которые испытываются буквально на вооруженных силах Украины и тех, против кого они применяют это вооружение, ранее не тестировавшееся. Поэтому, еще раз, давайте дождемся официального подтверждения, но я не буду удивлена, если эта информация подтвердится.
Vanessa, I'm asking you for comment because you sent me that little video clip, but I mean, have you got any thoughts on it? Because the names that are being talked about are the usual pharmaceutical companies, Pfizer and the rest. So no surprises in terms of the names that are being discussed, but the idea of illegal clinical trials is, well, it should be of concern to everyone.
Yeah, I mean, basically, if it's proven, it's experimentation on children ongoing since 2014. And of course, we have to remember that for decades, Ukraine has been the hub of human trafficking and child trafficking and prostitution trafficking, etc., drug trafficking also. So I guess we have to wait and see what evidence is produced, but it's pretty horrifying if true.
Yeah, indeed.